the minutes of our prior meeting, which occurred on September 24th. Paul Wiggins, elder chairman, opened the meeting in prayer. The meeting included at least 50 congregants, with a required quorum of 40, so the meeting was called to order. Paul Wiggins read the minutes of the previous June 4th, 2023 congregational meeting. There were no corrections, and the minutes were approved as read. Garrett Nates gave an update on his family after being at Longmont Calvary for a year. 2 sons are now off at college, and his daughter and youngest son are at Skyline High School. Over the year, he and Naomi have made personal connections with many in the congregation through home meetings and other settings. Garrett requested that those who have not yet received contact, please reach out to him and let him know if they would like to meet. Garrett shared updates on the staff. He's very thankful to have new worship pastor Todd Warren and his children here. Jeff Shepard is stepping down as youth director around Thanksgiving, and a time of public acknowledgement will be scheduled. Garrett asked for prayer for the open positions. Garrett also shared some thoughts from The Yes Effect, a book written by his father-in-law. Whatever God is calling us to, his prayer is for us to say yes, individually as well as a congregation. Rob Mount gave an update from the Deacons Fund team. The team is down from 4 members to 2. He is leading the ministry and serving along with Roe Green. Rob asked for others to join the team to help share the load. Rob shared that the Deacons Fund shows the love of Christ to our members and others in our local area, elevating Christ and embracing our community. Help is provided for bills like rent and utilities, as well as counseling services at the counseling center. So far this year, 147 people have been helped with $70,612 in funds. The Deacons Fund balance has increased since we began passing the baskets again. 2 motions from the Council of Elders were presented. No second was required. Ballots were used to collect votes for both items from in-person attendees, and votes were also received from those attending online. Motion 1, to affirm Ryan Hodgen as an elder to serve a 3-year term ending in 2026. Motion 2, to affirm the sale of the North property to Habitat for Humanity for $1.47 million. David Finnegan gave an overview of the information from the recent update meetings about the proposed sale. The sale was first discussed in 2016, and a committee was formed sometime later to explore possibilities. About 1 year ago, Habitat presented a cash offer for the North property. They plan to develop an estimated 30 single-family, permanently affordable houses, which is consistent with the property zoning. The process is lengthy for Habitat to get approval to develop the property and the church to receive money from the sale. The floor was then opened for questions and discussion. The topics of the questions included the project density, contingencies if the sale is not completed, communication to neighbors, working with Habitat for Humanity, impacts of deed restrictions for permanent affordability, the boundary between the church and the land to be developed, and whether an HOA would exist for the new development. 106 member ballots were received. Motion 1 regarding the affirmation of Ryan Hodgen as an elder passed, receiving 96% yes votes. Motion 2 regarding the sale of the North property also passed, receiving 91% yes votes. Tracy Carson gave the financial report for January through August 2023. Copies of the financial dashboard report were made available. Year-to-date budget was $800,000. Year-to-date giving, $715,645, down about 10% versus budget. Year-to-date expenses, $743,095. Cash balance is $565,374. A chart of monthly giving from 2020 to 2023 was presented and is being closely watched by the financial ministries team and the elders. $12,000 remains to be paid of the $40,000 allocated from the building fund for the engagement with True Path Solutions, working together with the Master Site Plan Committee on recommendations to renovate and remodel our current facility. Paul Wiggins shared a report from the Council of Elders. The elders have been discussing the development of members in preparation for service as elders and other ministry leaders. Paul expressed excitement about the long time and newly formed small groups and encouraged participation. Paul invited the congregation to join the elders in praying as outlined in Colossians 4:2-4, praying watchful prayers, thankful prayers, asking for opportunities for the gospel, and praying that we can use those opportunities to clearly proclaim Christ in our context. Glenn Rewerts moved to adjourn the meeting. David Finnegan seconded. The motion passed unanimously. Paul Wiggins closed in prayer. Respectfully submitted, Eric DuPont, acting church clerk. I don't know what his title would be, but thanks, Eric, for taking those minutes. Are there any corrections to those minutes anyone would like to offer? If there are no corrections, the minutes stand approved. All right. At this meeting, we have the privilege of welcoming a number of new members. So as I read your name, if I could ask those new members to come up on stage and make a nice line so we can all show up on camera for those that are joining us online. So Kevin and Sarah Quillen, Cameron Reynolds, Naomi Nates, Chris Beck, Brian Wiggins, Barbara Manili, George Coe, and Paul Williams. Welcome, everybody. I've met all of you and have your names. We're going to try to get you all on camera. So yeah, follow Cameron's direction. He knows where we need to be. Okay, very good. So I'll let each of you just say your name so that everybody can start to put a face to a name. Some of you have been here a long time. Some of you are newer, and so I think it'll just be good for everybody to hear everyone's name.
I'm Paul Williams.
Chris Beck.
Cameron Reynolds.
Brian Wiggins.
Kevin Quillen.
Sarah Quillen.
Barbara Manili.
Naomi Nates.
George Coe, and for the next 3 hours, I'll give you my life history. No.
Thank you, everyone. So these good folks have completed all the steps to become members except for one, which is to be welcomed by all of us and to join us in saying our church covenant together. So if you would like to welcome these as our latest members of Longmont Calvary, would you please stand and join us as we say together our church covenant. So you can turn around and look at the screens, or you can look up here, those of you that are on stage, whichever one's easier. All right, so let's say this together. I have trusted the Lord Jesus Christ for salvation. I've been baptized by immersion as a public testimony of my personal faith. I acknowledge the Bible as the authoritative source for what I believe and how I live as a Christian. I will contribute my time, abilities, and material goods to the work of God. I will promote biblical unity within our congregation. I affirm the doctrinal statement of Longmont Calvary. I will faithfully worship God, fellowship with other believers, and share Christ with non-Christians. I will allow Christ to live through me to demonstrate his grace and truth. Thank you, everyone. You may be seated. Well, let me just be the first to welcome you as new members of Longmont Calvary. So glad to have you. And you all can be seated to join us. Are you good?
Paul can help
Yep.
me. I'm just shaking.
Yep, I noticed that.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. All right, Garrett's going to share with us a look back at 2023.
Thank you, everyone, for being here on this afternoon. Thanks, Paul, for moderating this meeting. It's great to see all of you and to welcome these new people into our church family. What a special time. God is doing some really special work in our church. And just to look back briefly at the past year, there's obviously a lot that goes on in a year, and so we can't highlight everything, but just a few important things just to solidify some of the things that are going on and have gone on. So just a few things I want to highlight. First of all, last January, you may or may not remember, we did our Vision Summit. It was like 1.0 because we did Vision Summit 2.0 in August. And so really honestly, this year has been a year for me of laying groundwork for vision and direction for our church. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? And obviously we iterate all the time, right? So it's never like solidified. We are always having to make sure we're doing adjustments along the way. And so we lay a framework, and then we have to figure out how we're actually going to put flesh on that along the way. So our vision that we launched last January, just about a year ago, was to flood the world with the life-giving presence of Jesus Christ. It's a very specific focus on Jesus, a Jesus-centered vision that is understanding that he is the way, the truth, and the life for all of us. And so in many ways, it's turning the face of our church outward to our community around us, what's happening, how can we engage people with the gospel of Jesus Christ, how can we be a light in our community, and how can we reach as many people as possible with the life-transforming power of Jesus Christ. So those are lots of questions that we will never fully be able to answer, but this is important for us to put our mind to and understand. We want to be an outward-facing church, which has an impact on a lot of different things. So that was our vision that we set. We had 4 main values, and they should be very simple to remember because they all start with an E and a C. So it's elevate Christ, Jesus-centered. This is what we're about, making the most of him. It is equipping Christians. So that's the second EC, equipping Christians to live for him and live with him in this world. It is embracing our city. That's the third EC. Of understanding what are the opportunities around us God is giving to us, just being based in Longmont itself, in northern Colorado. What opportunities are before us because of where he's put us? How can we embrace that? And then the last one is engaging culture. What cultural issues are happening that we can lean into and we need to be engaged with conversation and some particular things. And so that was January, laying the framework for that. And as I said, we're always iterating on what that means. Then in August, as you heard from the minutes a little bit ago, we really launched into selling the North property to Habitat. This was a very particular part of us embracing our city, an opportunity God has been giving to us for many years of how do we lean into that? How do we respond to that? That has been on the docket for a long period of time. And by God's grace, we made movement on that this year. That's a really big deal. I mean, that's been waiting for a long period of time. And so that was the 2 vision summits that we really focus on, and a lot of it is putting our face outward. As I said, there's lots of things that happen in the life of the church, and what I want to highlight for just a few minutes is not just here of our vision summit here, but around the block, you could say, and around the world. And so God has put us right in this neighborhood, and we've had many opportunities here throughout the year. Some we were able to lean into this past year, and some we weren't able to do this year. So we did our Harvest Vests. This is the year. We're going to watch a video of that in just a second. Some of the things we've done in the past years that we weren't able to do this year is the Guided Hope Live Nativity. We're continuing our partnership with Guided Hope to be able to figure out how we can continue to work together during the Christmas season. But this year we weren't able to host it here. They hosted it on site where they were. And so that's a good thing for them. We're continuing to figure out how do we be present in this particular neighborhood. And so we're going to show the Harvest Fest video, and then Terry is going to come up as our pastor of outreach and talk about around the block and around the world. So you can play that video, Nathan.
Well, if that doesn't make you smile, I don't know what will, right? That was such a fun day. Jeff and his team really put a great harvest festival on, so that was fantastic to be a part of that. So, as Garrett said, I want to talk a little bit about around the block and around the world. There's a lot of things we can do in our community. One of those things was the harvest festival that you just saw. We had 450 people or so there this year. Great turnout for that. Many of which weren't members of the church or regular attendees of the church. But over the weeks following that, we had a lot of families come to the church that had come to that. So it's really important that we have things like that to do, to be with the community and show them, we want to support them, we want to help them, we want to have fun with them, So things like that help a lot. As the men's ministry, we did 7 meals down at the Hour Center this year. And I know some other people from the church went down to the Hour Center as well on different dates and did meals. They supply people with meals 365 days a year. And there's a lot of people in the community that need that help. Some are the marginalized, the homeless, people like that. But there's also people that work. You guys know how expensive it is. Like Garrett said in the video, food costs have gone up. Wages and things like that have not gone up to meet that. So there's a lot of people in need in the community right now for that sort of stuff. So if you can help do that kind of stuff, that'd be great too. 2023, we had another really great men's retreat in April. We had people not only from our church, but from other churches and neighborhoods join us as well. And the big thing for that weekend was helping us to be better disciples of Christ, which is one of the ways that we can give back as well, right? I heard this morning that, I don't remember, I think it might have been Shane or somebody else that shared with me that, or it was up here that, we get all these things, well, in turn, we're supposed to turn around and give too. We're blessed, right? We get things produced for us. God gives us things. When that happens to us, we need to turn that outward into the community and help other people with what we're blessed with, and not only food and things like this, but the knowledge of Christ as our Savior. So we need to really get on that in 2024 and look for ways we can reach out in the community and do that. Another way we did that here is Jamie's led some equip classes here at Longmont Calvary. A few other here, and in fact, he's doing one right now. But one that we did with Joanna Zuck and I helped lead was a neighboring class. And that was really a great class. We had a great turnout every week. We had it for 3 weeks. And it's about getting out and talking to not only our neighbors, right? People that you just may meet in your life. Even people here at church that might not know who God is. People in our neighborhoods, people at the store, people in gyms. You never know where you're going to run into somebody who needs an ear, needs somebody to talk to, somebody to pray with them, needs to hear the gospel of Christ, right? I have a quick story from, this happened last year, and I work at Chick-fil-A up in Thornton, and I was working one day, and this lady came in, and I could just tell from the look on her face, she looked frantic, like something was bothering her, and I walked up to her, and I said, "Is there something I can help you with?" And she said, "I just really need somebody to pray with me." So like I said, you never know, right? So she said, "I need to go use the restroom and get myself together a little bit." I said, "I'll just wait at this table for you." I went and told my general manager what was going on. He's like, "Take your time, go talk to her." So not only did I pray for her, I found out a little bit about her story, why she was so frantic, and we talked a little bit about the gospel. So my point being, I'm glad God put me in that place at that time to be able to share with her. You just never know when those things are going to happen. So be alert to it, whether you're at work or, Brad Harvey starting this work as mission thing. Very important for us to be stewards of God no matter where we are. I did a Bible study at Brookdale this year too. I started it last year. Actually, it's been going on for almost 2 years now. And I've really got a bond with the ladies over there. And I think I get just as much out of it as they do when I go and we go through the Bible. We go through the book of Mark right now. And we've had more people join from there. And it's also led me to be able to go to some rooms and share the gospel with some of the residents at Brookdale. So, there's just so many ways that we can get out there. But we need you guys' help too. If you have any ideas on how we can get out in the community in 2024, let us know. And just join if you'd like to join something of what we're doing here. Get with Jamie, maybe help and do a neighboring class or whatever. That'd be fantastic. As far as around the world goes, now we have global partners that we're huge into global partners here at this church in missions, right? Our goal for global partners is to give generously to our global missions here and throughout the world. We have a 20% baseline to the budget to do that with, which is fantastic. We did that this last year. We had Global Fest. We had people come in from all over the world and here in the country to share their stories and the missions about what they're doing here and abroad. And it's great to hear some of those stories and to show those partners that we support them, right? We sent a team last February to Peru. We also went to Eswatini. When we went to Peru in February, we were helping with their Adventura, which is their VBS, right? And we were focusing on the Middle East, man. And it was so cool to see those kids light up every day when they came in. And, a part of it was, obviously fun. You're doing games, doing crafts, but you're learning about the Middle East. And then you're also hearing the gospel. We're singing hymns of praise every day. The kids were fantastic. The kids that helped us there were just incredible, the heart that they have for Jesus there. It's great to see somewhere else in the world and how they worship Christ and how they come together and do stuff. One of the big things we try to do with global partners is come together with them and see how we can help them. Our job's not to go there and try to run things and tell them how we think they should do things. It's to see how they minister, what their needs are, and how we can help them. Super important. I learned a lot while I was there about how they do stuff. It was amazing. Another good thing out of that was a group from Lima came back out here in July and helped us with our vacation Bible school. What a fantastic ministry that was that week. Man, we had fun. Had fun with the kids. There was so much going on. But yet, people at church, they joined in. Michaela Aiken, some other people helped us, with a room that had different maps on it. We learned about different things that go on in the Middle East, who the presidents are, what they do, Muslim religion. We talked about a lot of different things, right? This is what's happening there. This is why Christ needs to be there. It was fantastic. We're doing that again this February. We're sending another team around the same time. This time the focus is going to be on South Africa. Jesse Bohannon from Eswatini is going to join the team there, right? So what better way to support her ministry, to have her come out and help us, man. We can't wait to see her out there and help, right? It's going to be great. And then hopefully they'll come back out here this year and help us. We're going to do the same thing we did last year, and if we can get people out there. So, we want to support them as much as we can. We want to find new partners to support as well. And we want to try to increase the support we're giving financially to our partners this year. We have 35 or so partners in 20 different countries of the world, plus here in the United States. So we've got a lot of people that we need to support, and we want to support, and we want to grow that, right? Grow that as much as we can. The big thing is we have that. We need to focus on the community here too. So whatever we can do to try to outward focus this year and get into the community rather than just the hour center and things like this in your neighborhoods, like I talked about, across the street, right? People need to be talked to as well. So our focus for this year is that. So my call to you is if you have any ideas, please see Garrett or me or Jamie, any of the pastors. If you want to join the team, if you want to join the global partner team, we could really use your help. We've lost some people who have retired or they've left the church or for whatever reason, we've lost some partners. We could really use some help there. And it's such a blessing, guys, to be able to do that and connect with people every month. We hear from them on a monthly basis, what they're doing with their missions. They get with us if they need something. We have funds in case something weird happens, like last year with the earthquake in Turkey, right? We've got funds to help take care of those people when things like that come up. But we need support. So if anybody's interested, please seek me or Kevin out for the Global Partners. If you have any other ideas to help us, let us know. And if you just want to get involved, please do. I mean, sometimes people don't think that they can disciple. You can. God put us here to give, right? We're supposed to seek what we can do for Christ, right? The Great Commission, right? We're supposed to go out and make disciples of all people. That's up to all of us. It's all up to the whole body of Christ. So whatever you can do to help would be really, really appreciated. So thank you. I'm going to invite Rob up here to do a little talk about the Deacons Fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Good afternoon, all. I would like to report that your Deacons Fund continues to provide amazing blessings to those in our church family and those in the greater St. Vrain community through emergency financial gifts. As part of our church mission to reach our community with the love of Jesus, your weekly donations help folks to pay their rent, often just in time from them being evicted and being put out on the street. We've also helped single moms with small children to either keep the power on or get the power and heat turned back on in their homes. So the Deacons Fund just provides in so many ways, and I can't thank you enough for that. Truly the biggest area that the fund helps with, though, is rent. We all know with inflation that we've seen in the past couple of years that rent prices have just skyrocketed. And after rent, helping with utility bills is the second biggest need that we're able to help with. And then we also help with medical bills, and we've also helped folks with car repairs as well. I'd like to read a couple of thank you notes that we have just received as of late. We had a new Calvary attendee. She stopped by the coffee bar to relay this story to me. Their daughter has a neighbor who was in financial difficulty because of an injury and missing work. The daughter shared with the neighbor that he should reach out to some churches in Longmont and perhaps he could find help. A few days later, upon following up with that neighbor, he shared that Longmont Calvary was the one church that came alongside him and helped him with his rent. And it was just a blessing for those new attendees, for their daughter, and for myself also, to hear how God works through the generosity of Longmont Calvary. And then I had a gentleman that I had worked with, and he said, "Dear Rob and the Calgary congregation, thank you. I am so grateful for your gift of rental assistance. Ever since the government's ERAP program and a year ago, I have been struggling every month to pay my full rent each month, falling further behind, and as a result, having received multiple eviction notices. After dealing with age discrimination for years, I finally got a low-paying job last December. But I can barely pay the monthly rent with that, with a little left over for food. By October, I was $1,000 behind on my rent. Your assistance helped me to catch up, and I hope will now be able to avoid the scary possibility of further eviction notices. Thank you for your generosity, your tangible help, and your timely response. I am blessed by your helping hands. Thank you." And I do want to tell you folks, it's a huge blessing for Ro and myself to be a part of this ministry. It takes a lot of work sometimes. You hear a lot of sad stories, but both Ro and I really feel the Lord's calling for this right now, and we're just really, really happy to be in this position. And as I mentioned, along with Ro Green, but we are excited to welcome Lisa Barilla to our team. So I know last time I had kind of put out a call and asked for help, and Lisa answered that call, and so she's going to be joining us here soon. Since January of last year, we have received 200 requests for help up to this time. And we have helped, of those 200, 156 families with assistance of a little over $104,000. How this breaks down is we've helped 15% to Calvary Family, 14% to Friends of Calvary, and then 71% to the outlying community all around Longmont and the St. Vrain area. I would also like to take a minute just to say thank you to Joyce and my wife Nancy in the church office. They initially receive the requests that come to the church. They are the first contact people have, and their care and compassion really help when someone calls in for assistance. So we thank those ladies. And then I would also ask, thank you. Because oftentimes I know, those ladies take time to pray with those folks when they call. They're struggling, they're hurting, they don't know who to reach out to, they've never reached out to anybody before. So that first line really does help. And then I would also like to ask that you keep Ro, Lisa, and I in your prayers when you think of and give to the Deacons Fund. It truly is our desire to be good stewards of the gifts you give, because we need compassion, wisdom, discernment, and we covet your prayers when you think of us. And to close, I just want to say thank you. I can't say thank you enough for giving to the Deacons Fund, because your gifts truly do make a difference in so many lives. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Rob and Terry. And before we look into what's ahead in 2024, I do want to say thank you to Michaela Aiken. Is she even here? Is Michaela here? She has, and Craig too. Craig, right next to, very supporting cast there. Craig, I think it's a little more than supporting cast. Michaela's been filling in for Kathy when she has been on sabbatical. And so very willingly, very able. Our children's ministry is doing very well. And so excited for welcoming Kathy back. Of course, she comes back this next week from her sabbatical. But thank you, Michaela and Craig, for serving so faithfully. And with that, we're always looking for people to serve in our children's ministry. So they are like Uber volunteers. So you don't have to do everything that they're doing. But just to let you know, there's always a need for people to volunteer for, you've heard three things now from the Global Partners team, from the Deacons Fund, and Children's Ministries. So lots of opportunities to get plugged into the year ahead. And if you're interested in figuring out where you fit into this life called Longmont Calvary, please talk to one of us on staff. We'd love to get you plugged in. I want to take a few minutes to talk about what's ahead in the next year and what's coming up. And some of these things you've already heard about, because it's just kind of reiterating some things, but also to understand some of the changes that have been made that we want to continue to reinforce. So first of all, one of our priorities is always, but also particularly this year, is to reaching the younger generation. You've heard that as part of the Say Yes initiative. Lord willing, this year we will call a new student pastor who will be a full-time pastor here to really dive into our high school and middle school kiddos, helping them learn how to follow Jesus and helping them also be conduits of God's grace into the community itself. And so that's a big deal for us this next year, to find out who God has already in store to join us on our staff. Local, regional, and global outreach. These are huge emphasis for us in those kind of three concentric circles of right here locally. We want to continue to make improvements to our worship services itself. How do we improve what's happening in this space here? How do we mobilize one another to reach out? You've already heard some of these things. This next year, also making some pretty big steps forward in preparation for church planting, getting everything in order, what we need to do for that. You've heard us talk about that this past year. This would be a big year of preparations for what that's going to look like and the steps we need to take for us to get there. Those are some really big things. Part of the Say Yes initiative also, you've already heard some of these things, as you heard this morning from the Zooks, about our grocery supplemental service. How can we do more this year? One of the ideas that maybe potentially down the road is using the van that's still sitting out here in our parking lot as a mobile food delivery service. So it's not just saying people come here and wait in line, but how can we take it to people who cannot even physically get here? Can we expand the community that way? Lots of things to explore there. And then the third part of the Say Yes initiative is lowering the financial barrier for adoption. All sorts of good opportunities before us, yet to be explored and get fleshed out on those, all those things. But these are some things we're looking forward to in the next year. I'm going to have Jamie come up and talk a little further about ways we can continue to go deeper in following Jesus this year. Jamie?
Thanks. So I meet new people here at Longmont Calvary every Sunday. Every Sunday we have people visiting. Met several again today. And one of the things we've been working on is if somebody's newer or wants to get involved, is there a clear path for involvement for them? And so we're just trying to make that as clear and simple as we can. And so we have basically kind of 3 steps that people can take to get involved. One of those is through our equip classes. So Terry's already mentioned those. These are classes we hold here Sunday morning just to build into each other. Anybody can show up to those classes. There's a very low barrier of entry. You could just show up and participate. You'll learn, we'll dig into theology. We'll talk about how we can live out our faith, grow in our maturity, things like that. So we've offered several of those over the last year, and we're going to keep doing that. Another way people can get involved is by joining a group. So we have small groups of 10, 12, sometimes more. Some meet here on Sundays, some meet around around town during the week. And some have been going on for meeting for years and years, and some just started this past semester. So whole variety of groups. And we're always looking to start more of those as well. So joining a small group is a way where you can grow in your relationship with Jesus, grow in connection with those people in the group, and also in your impact. So if you're part of a community like that, you become stronger, you become more the person that you're meant to be. You turn around, you have an impact. And that's the goal of those small groups. And then we have discipleship groups, or what we call D groups. I'm in one of these. It is so meaningful to me, and I know the other guys in that group. I know many of you are in a discipleship group. This is a group of maybe 4 people or so, just a very small group. It's not an academic Bible study or a class. It is to disciple each other. It's to connect very deeply, personally, and pursue Jesus together. So these are very intimate groups. And discipleship groups, obviously, because of the nature of what they are, is not something you can just program, like sign up for a discipleship group. But we want to help you if you're interested in forming one of those groups. If you're thinking, yeah, I want to go deeper with Jesus with a few people in my life, talk to us. We'll help you move forward with that. We'd love to. So these are really simple ways. They're not the only ways to be involved, nor is it a rigid structure where, you go to one and you graduate to the next, and it doesn't necessarily work like that. But it gives us a very clear pathway to point people to be involved here at Longmont Calvary. Just a couple things that are coming this in 2024 around this issue of discipleship. So we're going to offer an equip class that we haven't offered yet called The Storyline of the Bible. So please watch for info for that and join us for that. It's just going to be the overarching narrative of Scripture, the Bible in your pocket, you could say, so that you understand that flow of the Word of God. We're going to actually do a version of that for the youth first in January, and then we'll offer that to the wider church. So be watching for that. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to start offering equip classes Sunday evenings. So probably a few of you have maybe thought about joining an equip class, but Sunday morning is not the time that works for you. That's when your group meets or when you serve or whatever. We're going to try to hold them on Sunday evenings. So watch for that and participate in that if you're able. And then one other thing that I want to mention is that so this last spring we had a small group leadership pilot. So it was a group of maybe 15 of us or so, and we were just digging into what it's like to lead a small group. And so we had a small group about leading small groups. And the people who were in that group for a few weeks are now participating in helping our group ministries go. We're going to have another one of those if there's enough interest in that. So if any part of you is thinking, yeah, I'd like to be part of making a new group happen, hosting it, leading it, or maybe joining an existing group that needs leadership, we will be having that leadership pilot at some point this spring. And so if you're interested in participating in any of these things, then please let me know, because we'd love to include you. I just want to end by saying thanks to the people who have helped with, especially with the Equip classes. We're building an Equip class teaching team. If you're a teacher and you want to be part of that teaching team, let me know and let's have a conversation. But Terry already mentioned that he and Joanna Zook have been helping. Bud Bush, Ken Allen, Michael McClure, Bill Repenning, all of those folks have helped. So thank you so much for that. I can't name all of our small group leaders because we'd be here all afternoon, but huge thank you to all of you as well. So yeah, I think that's about it. Thanks so much. I'm going to invite Todd up.
How y'all doing? Fantastic. This is my first time up here on stage without a guitar. This feels nice and free. Nice and free. Well, I'll just kind of start where Jamie left off. Just to say thank you to the folks that I get to play music with, and each week. It is kind of a longer list, like Jamie was saying, but I'm just so grateful to these that I'm getting to getting to know them. A few of them are here. A few of them. Just getting to know, having coffee, sharing life, getting to know their family, as well as obviously play music together. So it's really wonderful. And also, just as a big thank you, thanks for welcoming me and my kiddos. It's, yeah. I'm just delighted to be back in Colorado. This is probably, I'm off the script right now, but I'm just like delighted to be back in Colorado. And my kids are coming around to it. Shiloh's like already on the mountain train. He's there, man. But anyways, we're just delighted to be here. So I'm personally delighted to be with y'all as a church family, working with Garrett and the crew. We just had a staff party the other night, and that was really wonderful. So it was really great. Really great. So just thank y'all. It's really wonderful to be here. There's a really cool kind of famous scripture at the end of Ephesians 3. It talks about God is able to do far more abundantly beyond all that we ask or think. Y'all know that one? Kind of famous, right? According to what? Or wait. All that we ask or think, according to the power that works in us. So, that whole according to the power that works in us thing, God's able to do far more abundantly beyond all that we ask or think, according to the power that works within us. So that's kind of my part in all of this. Terry gets to do all this cool stuff about like looking out and beyond, and my thing is like your heart before God. My thing is our heart before God. We have this in Psalm 63. I want to read this real quick. Psalm 63, it says, "O God, you're my God. I will seek you early and earnestly. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh yearns for you. I will look for you in the sanctuary to see your power and your glory." That's a good one. That's a good one. There's also this other thing here from Proverbs 27. It says, "As a crucible refines silver and a smelter refines gold, so a person should refine their praise." So, those are kind of core scriptures, core thoughts, core principles as far as like where I'm headed as far as like Longmont Calvary Worship Ministries. I want to see an entire congregation walking in every Sunday morning looking for the power and the glory of God. Looking for it. Me, my two kids that are here, like somehow lighting a fire under teenage Teenagers. If we can, well, I'll start. I shouldn't start. I'll start preaching. I'll stop there. My heart is that we're sincere and genuine, and corporately open in the presence of God. That we're looking for his power and his glory when we gather. We're not coming here just because it's another thing on the schedule, or it's because that's like, hey, that's what we do. We go to church. So what? It only matters if we really get in front of God and he changes us. Then we can go do stuff on all of Terry's teams and stuff. Then it actually matters. And then we've got light to give, right? So, power and glory, that we're refining our praise so that God's presence is refining our hearts, and we can go be really beautiful light to others, everyone that we touch, okay? So that's, hopefully that answers the question. That's part of going deeper. That's part of the vision for Longmont Calvary Worship Ministries. There we go. And who's up next? Tracy's up next. Where's Tracy? Ah, there she is. All right.
Thank you. All right, I just want to share a few highlights for kind of what the end of the year is looking like. And I kind of feel like for the last several times that I've been up here, I don't want to say negative, but it hasn't been as positive as I guess we would like it. And actually, I feel like today I'm going to bring up some things that are more positive. One of the things, I don't know if the report, which obviously you can read because it's so big up there. So I'll share. So I think one of the things, we're not meeting budget in terms of actual giving, but we're not overspending. So we actually are showing a net income. This is all information through November. But one of the things with that, I think it was mentioned in the budget packet, is that our giving actually dollar-wise compared to last year is more than it was last year. So we're seeing an increase in giving, which I think is really exciting. The numbers here indicate, let's see, through the end of the year. So we're 113,000 below our budget giving number through November. Hopefully we'll see some increases in November or in December. Have already seen that a little bit in the deposits that we've collected so far in December. One of the things, though, is that also that's a positive, is that our cash balances, our unrestricted cash balances, have gone up over this last year. So in 2022, I think we saw cash kind of going out on a faster pace. And some of the things that we've been concerned about was just some of the reserves that we have in unallocated cash, so unrestricted cash that we can use for operations. And you'll see even just the last few months, September, it was our reserve that our operating reserve was about 71,000, and as of the end of November, it was up to 163,000. So there's a little bit of comfort level in that, and just having some additional funds in the bank that we can use for operations. Some of that, and you'll see in that lower box, there was a very generous gift, an estate gift that was given. That was not, we as a financial ministries team decided not to include that in the number for the giving for the budget. I'm going to say probably mainly for statistical purposes, so that we kind of understood what the trends were going forward. If we look back at this, it certainly could have been put in there because we appreciate any gifts that are given, whether it's through estates or just through the offering plates in the mornings. But that we decided to specifically just put that toward those reserves. So that's where that number is coming from. A significant amount of that is coming from. So just wanted you to be aware of that. the also wanted to let you know that the analysis for the building that we had talked about, through the whole True Path thing in order to get to the understanding of where we're at with the building, was something that was approved to be paid through the building fund. That is fully paid out, and so we won't see that anymore. That was a $40,000 expenditure. And the last thing I want to mention is, although our expenses, according to budgets, they're higher than our giving, there is one more quarter of Global Partners funds, about $45,000 that will be going out. Actually, I'll be cutting checks this week, so that amount goes down. But we still have offerings coming in for this month. So I'm kind of anticipating that the year will end probably pretty close to where we're at this point. So, any questions? Yes, George. Yeah, so the restricted funds are going to be like the building fund, the memorial fund, the church plant fund, those types of things that either a donor has specifically said they want it to go to that fund, or the elder board or the financial ministries team has designated for a specific fund. Okay. Yes, Lee? I'm not in on all of that, but my understanding is that won't be until 2024, 2025. Yeah, because I think the contract was just signed and is quite a ways down the road. Yeah. Anything else? No. Okay, then I think I'm turning it over to David Finnegan to talk about the budget.
Thanks, Tracy. So I feel like the staff gets the better topics than Tracy and I do. I don't know. I mean, Tracy, she got to bring some good news and stuff, and I get to talk about the budget. And I was talking with somebody this morning, and I was sharing that, I retired this year, and I spent over 45 years in banking and bank regulation, and, I didn't really want to do numbers anymore. I have some of you know me, I have some arts and crafts stuff that I'd much rather do. And I kind of been fighting God about that. I haven't been particularly happy the fact that he hasn't blessed my little maker business thing very well, and even committed money to the church through it and everything. That still didn't work. And instead, he's given me the opportunities to work with the financial management team and to help Global Partners getting things set up with some giving things there. And you know what? It's good. I haven't been very happy about it. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't been happy about it until just maybe, I don't know, yesterday. I think I was still not very happy yesterday, to be honest with you. So talking about the budget, it's interesting. It's not the funnest topic. It's not the thing that, and a lot of times we don't want to talk about it. I want to know, how many people have a budget, have a current active budget that they work with? Awesome, very good, very good. And is that an easy process for you? Some of you, I'm sure, have probably gotten it down pat. Is it an easy process, or does it ever cause any angst or any stress or anxiety? Anybody have stress and anxiety with that? Anybody want to raise their hands? Oh, see, we have good budget people, because if you have a good budget, you don't have that stress and anxiety, right? But it's interesting that it's sometimes difficult to take and translate the numbers that we look at with the budget into the heart of what we're doing. But indeed, that is what the budget reflects, is where our hearts are. And so as a church, our church budget hopefully reflects our hearts and where we're at. And the things that you've heard about from the staff, both what we did in the past and what we're doing in the future, we're going to look at a pie chart in a few minutes, and we need to think about what all those things are. But let's see, I don't know what go ahead and do the next slide for me. So we had previously presented a proposed budget of $1.226 million. And when we put that budget out, we also set up some budget meetings. We had an online meeting, and we had an in-person meeting. And Garrett, thank you. We've worked this year to try and increase the transparency we have with our finances. And Tracy, thank you. lot of times Tracy's having to put together more information quicker so we can get things out in different meetings. But Garrett also initiated these meetings, and so it was very helpful to get additional feedback, to have some more time to discuss those. So thank you to those of you that have read the packet in advance. Those of you that participated in those meetings was very helpful and gives us good insight into where we're going and where people's hearts are. And we've made some revisions to the proposed budget. The net effect is it's going to increase the budget by $2,500. Yeah, I don't, I retired from numbers. So I unfortunately did that a lot. So go ahead and switch to the next slide if you would. So what's the difference? So we originally had in the budget, we had set aside money as we were planning and looking at what we're going to do with the building renovation. There's a number of things that go into that planning process, and as staff and elders, we had decided that we needed to put some money aside, and we wanted to do that so that we would be able to plan for and be able to anticipate what we're going to be doing with the building. There's a number of steps that are going to be required to take into that, and as we talked with different feedback we got from the congregation, some people thought that maybe that number doesn't belong in the budget, it belongs in a request to the building fund, which could be true. Some people questioned the value of hiring consultants, which was what that money was earmarked for. The reality is we have more planning to do. And so at this point, we've decided to remove that from the budget this year. So that takes about $52,000 out of the budget. And we're going to be getting additional information and providing more information out as we go forward in determining timing and what we're doing. And as Tracy mentioned, we did just sign the sales contract. We're probably, easily, Tracy's exactly right. 24 would be amazing, and 25 is likely when those funds will show up. But we have a lot of planning to do and a lot of things to discuss still to go. And so it's not that we have forgotten that we have a building that needs help by any means, but that we're going to put that off as far as how we're planning and what we're going to do for that. The second area, Terry already stole the thunder on this change in the budget, and being the optimistic staff person he is, we've decided to increase the global partner funding to 20% of budget. The original number, before you clap, because I want to reemphasize some things that have been said. It is good to clap, but I want you to you'll have some reasons to clap and some reasons to reflect, is that the number that was presented before did not reflect a reduction in where we had been going in absolute dollars. Percentages wise, it did look like a reduction, but it was not. It was what we're currently doing. It was maintaining that. The reality is Terry and Kevin are going to need help. This is a big part of our budget. And it is not an easy fund to do. I see some other people that I know have been on that committee before and can probably attest to the fact that it's a lot of work. While it's a lot of fun and it's great to keep in contact with the missionaries, there's a lot of paperwork and bookwork and things too that need to be done. So there is a need for help in that way. So please be praying about that. The other thing in increasing the budget to 20%, that really is done, and you guys can go ahead and clap now, that is doing to hopefully reflect our heart for global partners. And so yes, and so I didn't mean to cut you guys off on clapping, but I do want to emphasize that, as we look at these numbers, you do realize we didn't meet budget this year as far as the giving goes. And we're asking for a higher budget amount this year for 24. So when we give to Global Partners gets 20% of the amount given, not the amount budgeted, the amount given. So, and then it's true for everything. Everything we're doing, everything we've got planned, it's not just Global Partners, it's the entire budget needs our support. We don't really have anything in the budget that we think isn't good, or that we don't think is necessary, or that we think is, I don't think, there's not much fluff in there. I don't remember. So everything we're doing is an emphasis on the budget all the way around, and all the ministries we're doing, and the things that you've heard the staff talk about. So no, when we talk about the numbers, please remember, go ahead and flip to the next slide, that all these numbers reflect our heart towards our community, our heart towards the global community, our heart towards God, and how we want to reach others for Jesus Christ. So, unfortunately, I don't have this in front of me, and wow, I really don't have that good eyes. Oh, there it's bigger. So. But these are the general budget categories. These were adjusted for the changes we just talked about. So an increased amount going into outreach. So that includes global partners and some money for local outreach. So I think that's probably the wedge that changed the most, if I remember correctly. What questions can I answer for you about the budget? So I do want to thank you for your participation in the budgeting process. I also want to thank you. I mean, we may not have made budget, but we sure did a lot of work this year, and a lot of it came because of the financial support that all of you provided. So thank you for your support. And we look forward to a 2024 year with increased outreach into our community, increased outreach across the world, and thank you for participating in that.
Thank you, David, and all the other people that gave reports. We've now reached the point in our agenda where we are going to be taking a couple of congregational votes. And so we have two motions from the Council of Elders for your consideration. And both these motions, since they come from the elders, don't need a second. And those here in person, we're going to be using a ballot to take the votes on both items. So we'll just introduce both motions, have discussion on each one at a time, and then we'll be voting all together through that ballot that you've received. If you're a member, make sure you mark that on the ballot so your vote gets counted. If you don't say you're a member, we'll gladly collect your paper, but we won't count it. Those online should have a screen popping up when we get to the point of actually taking the vote, and you should be able to vote through the WebEx session. So let's tackle these motions one at a time. So the first motion from the elders, if we can get it on the screen. Yeah, raise your hand if you didn't receive a ballot to fill out. Okay, so the first motion is to affirm the revised budget proposal for 2024 of $1,228,706. And so that motion is before us. Is there any discussion? You already had an opportunity to ask David questions. I don't know why you'd want to ask me questions, but discussion on that motion. All right. So we've got another motion for us to consider, and that is to affirm Kevin Quillen as Deacon of Global Partners to serve an unexpired one-year term ending in June 2024. So he would be taking over for Marissa Ballard in that role. Thank you for being willing to do that. So is there any discussion on this motion? Kevin reminded us it's our last chance not to give him the reins. Okay. All right. Well, with all that controversial discussion out of the way, we are ready for voting. So please mark your ballots, fold them, pass them to the aisle so that they can be collected. We've got some volunteers that will be collecting those and counting those for us. We'll give another little bit of time if we need to for the online voting to conclude. Nathan, does it look like we're about concluded with the online voting? Okay, we'll give them 30 more seconds. I forgot to count seconds, so I'm going to guess that's about 30 more seconds. All right, so while the votes are being tabulated, I just want to give you a quick report from the Council of Elders. So thank you for your attention today. I hope all these reports and the information has been helpful to you. and gives us all a better understanding of what's going on in the church, how we can be involved in that. And we started the time together with welcoming new members. And one of the things we do whenever we do that, our bylaws say we're going to do it, and we do it, is we say the covenant together. And it has a lot of just simple things about our commitments to one another. I just wanted to reflect briefly on some of those things in my elder update. So we start that covenant by talking about trusting Christ and being baptized. Nothing we can offer to the church means anything without the transformation Christ brings in our lives. And what a joy it is when we see people say yes to Jesus' call. We've had some new believers that were baptized this past year. We'd like to see more of that this next year. In our covenant, we acknowledge the Bible as the authoritative source for what we believe and how we live. And I see that in a bunch of ways in our church. We have different Bible study groups, small groups, on and off campus. We have sermons in 2 languages. We have teachers faithfully introducing our young people to God's Word in our children's classes each Sunday. And we have staff and volunteers calling our older students to pursue their own relationship with Christ and live out their faith. Another of the commitments in that covenant is that we're going to contribute our resources to God's work and promote unity. We protect our unity when we bear with one another and when we pray for one another. It's hard to be at odds with someone on the long term if you're praying for them. And so I really enjoy the times when we pray together for one another. You've given thousands of hours of your time in different ministries here, and you've given hundreds of thousands of dollars towards enabling the ministry of Longmont Calvary. And this needs to be a place where we, in large, understand our gifts and are using them to build up the body. And so I was going to invite you to serve in some particular ways, and everybody kept already inviting you into service in those ways. So I came up with some new ones. So in addition to Deacons Fund and Global Partners and the other one that was stolen, Children's, you can respond to the Zuck's invitation this morning about the giving pantry. Dave Okudo, if I said your last name right, could use some helpers in his usher crew. And then my interest was piqued about the Adopt a Senior program. So see Jamie if you want to connect to that ministry. Anyway, whatever your gifts are, we can find a way to use that within our body. And I'm excited that we've seen that and want to see more of that. The last section of the covenant, we commit to coming together for worship and fellowship, as well as to allow Christ to live through us and be witnesses to those who are not yet Christians. And I see that happening each week as our times together turn our hearts to God and spur us on to love and good deeds. In 2024, we want to grow in our effectiveness in creating and recognizing opportunities to share Christ with non-believers. So today I'm excited that we welcome new members, and as we do that, I always find it very meaningful to just recommit to these simple things that are in our church covenant. And although they may seem like basic things, they're really the keys to us being effective to operate together as one body. So I just encourage us to live out that commitment that we made today. So that's all I wanted to share. Oftentimes there's some questions that pop up at this point. So does anyone have any questions? Anastasia? Yeah.
Thank you for the report. Now that we've sold or the contract has been signed for the property, I know that the Habitat for Humanity, we're talking about the communication plan that will roll out after that. Is it possible for that to be part of the agenda for the next meeting?
The communication to the community won't occur at the next congregational meeting. You just want an update on... Okay, you want to know more about the plan. Yeah, so what I understand is that before the contract can close the sale can close, there's a lengthy process that they have to go through with the city, and there's a particular step in which they're going to be reaching out, and it's not the first step. But we have an active interest in understanding that plan, participating in that plan, supporting that plan, and they're expecting our support. So there will be information that we will know how to communicate to you at some point. I don't know if I can commit that their schedule of getting to that plan being finalized and our schedule will be before the next meeting, but I think that's a topic that we would want to share with you once we have it. And I would think that we're going to need people within our congregation that will need to be aware and helping us plan our involvement in that. And so those that are particularly interested in maybe asking about that might be people that might want to use their gifts and talents towards that end. So I won't commit that it'll be next meeting, but I will commit it'll be shared with the congregation as we enter into that, so that we're ready and ready to do that well. Other questions?
Yeah, Paul, you spoke about using gifts in areas that we can serve our body. So my question is, from a music ministry standpoint, and I'm not speaking just on my own. I'm speaking on behalf of a number of people here who are interested or have been very involved with music ministry, and they want to be involved, either playing the piano or singing. Is there a plan in place to start involving? Because I think when members are involved, they feel vested as part of this body. So that's one. The second question really is not talking about gifts, but I'll just throw out the question is, we're coming up to 70th anniversary in 2025, in a year and a half. Is there any plan in place for any kind of celebration?
I'll try to hold on to two questions. So yeah, I'm going to pass the mic to Todd for the first question.
Yeah, there's part of the musician thing is getting to know people, getting to know what they can do, what they can't do, what they can play, what they can't play, all that kind of stuff. Their skill level, at what level of skill they can play. Part of me coming on board is to hopefully raise the bar as far as like what are we doing musically, that type of thing. So as far as like your question about like schedule of things, when are we going to get to all of that? Some of that, or a good portion of that, is just getting to know people. It's relationships, and so relationships take a little bit of time. But getting to know people, using those that are already here, as well as those emails I've already gotten that people are saying, "Hey, we're brand new here. We play this and we play this. We'd love to get involved." It's like, okay, great. Get involved in the life of the church first, and then we can talk. So there's just kind of all of that together. Just takes a little time, and so if I'm doing my math right, I'm still like 3-4 months new. So I very much appreciate the question and the heart, and we're definitely getting there. So
Todd, is the best way for the people to begin that relationship with you to reach out to you through email or talk to you here on a Sunday morning? Both. He said both. There's one more question that George had asked, and it was about the 70th anniversary. Garrett, do you know of any plans yet working towards a celebration? So that's the first time that's come up for me, and so I guess probably there'll be some discussion following your question, but I'm not ready to answer. Well, we have two motions on the floor. I can't accept another motion at this time.
I was thinking along the same line. We've often had plays up here, and I just wonder, have you ever been involved in that type of thing? Because there's, people that have directed plays and a lot of actors. and so on. Would you be interested? You know, you can say yes, but other people to do all the work, really. No, really, I'm serious.
Right. Okay. Yeah, as far as theater or drama, or I'm going to go ahead and clump, while we're chatting about this, I'm going to go ahead and clump choir in there as well. So choir, drama, theater. It's not anything that's on the docket right now. It's not anything that's on the radar. There are other opportunities for that here in Longmont. There's Longmont Chorale. There's other theater and other production companies here locally that do a lot better job of that than I would. But so the quick answer is that's not on the radar right now. My heart, our heart, as far as ministry and the congregation, is what I was talking about earlier, is that we prioritize the presence of God. Like Garrett started this whole meeting talking about like the preeminence of Christ Jesus. Is that we're about that, we're about that, we're only about that. And my response to drama, theater, choir, that type of stuff, these different expressions of worship would be that my heart first is that we get there corporately as far as a more interactive, a more expressive corporate gathering in the presence of God kind of week to week, as opposed to different things like these, special productions or events or these different kinds of things that have been asked about. So hopefully that made sense.
Other questions? All right, there's probably a question on everyone's mind, which is what is on this paper that I was handed. And so I'm pleased to report we had 72 votes from members. Of those, 97% approved the budget. And for the other motion, 98% approved Kevin Quillen to serve in the Deacons Fund role. And so both motions have passed. And I see that great. Thank you for everyone's participation in that. And I see we've reached the end of our agenda. I'm open to a motion to adjourn. Okay, Lee Phillips, motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? I heard a second from Mr. Rewords. So all those in favor say aye. All opposed say no if you want to. Nope, okay. That motion passes. And so we are done with our business, but let me just close this in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, I just thank you for the way you're at work here in this place, through these people, pulling us together, helping us to function well as your body. Thank you for all the reports of the way that you've used us in 2023, and we're excited to see where you're going in 2024. Stretch us, use us, help us to offer the right kind of worship, help us to give good outreach to our neighbors, help us to support our global partners well, help us to use our gifts that you've given us well. And we just come to you expressing our dependence and our need for you. And we do this in the precious name of your Son, Jesus. Amen. Thank you, everyone. You're dismissed.